Heather Elvis was 20 years old, a dreamer, a waitress, and a girl who loved the beach. But on one December night, she drove away in her car and never came home. Heather's disappearance became one of the most publicized cases in South Carolina, not just because she vanished, but because of who police believed was behind it: a jealous wife, a secret affair, and a marriage fueled by rage. This is the story of Heather Elvis. It was December 18th, 2013. Heather finished her shift at a local restaurant in Myrtle Beach. She was working hard, saving money, and figuring out her next steps in life. After work, she met up with a friend for a bit, took a selfie, and then drove home in her distinctive teal-colored Mustang. Everything seemed completely normal. She was in her apartment getting ready to wind down for the night. Until around 2 a.m., her phone rang. Then it rang again. After that last call, her phone went silent forever. By the next morning, her family couldn't reach her. The calls went straight to voicemail. Panic started to set in. Heather wasn't the kind of person to just disappear. Something was terribly wrong. Investigators immediately began digging into Heather's life, trying to find anyone who might have wanted to harm her. They soon discovered she had recently been dating an older married man named Sydney Moorer. The affair had started a few months prior, but it ended abruptly when Sydney's wife Tammy found out. Tammy was furious. According to friends, she didn't just force Sydney to end the affair, she took complete control of his life. She reportedly took his phone, monitored his movements, and demanded access to all his passwords. The texts Tammy sent to Heather were filled with rage and threats, making it clear she wanted Heather out of their lives for good. The first major break in the case came when police located Heather's Mustang. It was abandoned at Peachtree Boat Landing, a remote spot by the water. The doors were locked, her keys were gone, but her wallet was still inside, and her phone, which was found later, was dead. The scene was eerie and left more questions than answers. But then, investigators uncovered something chilling from phone records. Right before she vanished, Heather received a phone call from a payphone. Shortly after, she received another call, this time from Sydney Moorer's phone. Investigators pieced together a terrifying theory. Heather was lured out of her apartment in the middle of the night. She likely believed Sydney wanted to see her, perhaps to reconcile or talk. She got in her car and drove to meet him, but instead of finding the man she'd been seeing, she drove straight into a trap. Based on the phone records and the threatening messages from Tammy, police arrested both Sydney and Tammy Moorer. They were charged with kidnapping Heather Elvis. The prosecution painted a grim picture of a couple who conspired together. They argued that Tammy, consumed by jealousy and a need for control, orchestrated the entire event. She wanted revenge, and she used Sydney to get it. Even Tammy's own text messages became powerful evidence against her, revealing the depth of her obsession with destroying Heather's life. The trial was a media sensation, with every detail of the affair and the couple's volatile marriage laid bare for the public. But despite the arrests and the trial, one critical piece of the puzzle was, and still is, missing: Heather. To this day, Heather has never been found. There are no remains. There is no DNA evidence at the boat landing linking the Moorers to her disappearance. All prosecutors had was a trail of digital breadcrumbs, phone calls, text messages, and cell tower pings that placed Sydney near the boat landing that night. Ultimately, both Sydney and Tammy Moorer were convicted on charges related to the kidnapping of Heather Elvis and sentenced to prison. But the most haunting question remains unanswered. Where is she? For Heather's family, the legal outcome brought a sense of justice, but not closure. They are still searching. Every year, they follow up on every lead, every rumor, no matter how small. They hold vigils and work tirelessly to keep her story in the public eye. Her parents believe that the truth is still out there, locked away by the people responsible. They know that someone somewhere knows what happened that night at Peachtree Boat Landing, and as long as those people stay silent, they are protecting the guilty. If you have any information about the disappearance of Heather Elvis, authorities are still listening. No tip is too small. Heather deserved a life. She deserved a future. She deserved to come home. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, please like, comment, and subscribe to Once Upon a Crime. Your support helps ensure these victims' stories are never forgotten.